I did not iron my sweater, but we're friends, so you have to accept me as I am. January 12th, 2020 is the day that I officially committed to myself to begin working on my online course every single day, no matter how small the daily action was, even if it was just 10 minutes of thinking about the layout of a slide or to 2 hours of pure content creation. April 2020, I began selling beta round spots for my course. And by January 2021, the course business was luckily going well enough that I was able to quit full-time freelancing work and go full-time into my own business based off of this course, Digital Business Manager Bootcamp. And by end of 2021, we had grossed over $200,000 just off this one course alone. So first of all, crazy. Like, this is the wildest thing that's ever happened to me. So I thought today, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the step-by-step behind the scenes of creating the course itself, and then I'll share some of my biggest lessons learned about the course creation process at the end. Hey, my name is Daya, freelancer, digital business manager, most recently entrepreneur, and as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video. Your time is precious, take what you need. If you want to watch this on 2x, I won't be offended. I only watch myself in 2x. Okay, let's dive straight into the video. Alright, so step 0 is to validate. Validation is a non-negotiable step. After working with 40 plus freelance clients, I have helped build a lot of different online courses and different types of products. And I'm telling you this to set you up for success because I see so many people make products without validating the idea. And then 3 months down the line, they're like, no one is buying this thing that I spent hundreds of hours creating. Why? That is why validation is the most important step. And people always forget it. They just create something that they find interesting or fun themselves without checking if anybody else actually wants to buy it. You need to be sure the product you're creating is something people want and will pay money for. Do not spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hundreds or thousands of dollars creating something if you're not at least semi-sure people will pay money for it. I have done that before as well. Don't do that. It's a nightmare. Learn from my mistakes. Now, there are lots of ways to validate your idea. So for example, for me, for my course, DBM Bootcamp, I validated my course because I got weekly messages from virtual assistants asking me for how I got my training as a DBM and asking for course recommendations because they wanted to up level and I didn't know where to send them. And I got validation from business owners who were looking for DBMs and I didn't know who to refer because I didn't know anyone else who did exactly what I did. So I could see that there was demand from people that wanted to grow into a digital business management role, and there was demand from business owners who really needed DBMs that were well trained in the skills that they needed help with. So then we move on to step 1. Step 1 is, people often gloss over this step. It's one of the most important steps. I put starting my own course, starting my own business off for years because of mindset. I couldn't for the life of me get over my mindset drama. All of the, you're not good enough. Who are you to do this? Everyone will judge you. This is going to be a huge failure. You're going to be so embarrassed, like blah, 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 blah. Even now, I'm still working on mindset all the time, but I can already tell how much progress I've made because when that voice says like, what if so-and-so says this about what you're doing in your business? My gut reaction now is like, so? And like, that is just, that's progress. That's progress for me because, yeah, those of you that know me well, you know I have been a big people pleaser my whole life, so that would have crippled me just a few years ago. And I feel like as I'm growing older, I have less and less energy overall. And with my limited amount of energy, I just can't be handing that out to every person in the world and every small doubt or like fear or thought that pops up. Like, I need that energy, you know, for the important things in my life. And that's what I encourage you as well. If you find that you're getting caught up in a lot of the mindset, doubt, fear, like do research on that, find books that address the issues that you notice are like coming up over and over for you. Try to work on that self-awareness of like, what is my brain doing right now? And all that stuff, because you need that energy not to be channeled into all of those little doubts and fears. You need that energy to be channeled into creating something that in your gut, you know you should be creating. And, I'm not even saying you will be able to conquer it and then begin your online course. It's kind of a continuous journey that will be loud and noisy as you're doing this terrifying thing. So this step is more accepting that this will be the case, setting those expectations with yourself, and then committing to moving ahead even though you're scared, and making sure you are as aware as you can that these mindset things happen because you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone, which is a very amazing thing, but it's just trying to protect you. So as you're going through it, just be aware that you should continue on, even no matter how loud those voices shout, and really find a support network. Comment below if you're looking to create a course. I will be the first one to encourage you to do so, after you validate, of course. So one thing I did that worked well for me was I made myself a promise. I said, Dea, from this day on, you are going to commit to taking action every single day for the next 3 months, even if it's just 10 minutes or if it's 2 hours, whatever you're able. I was working full time as a freelancer then, so some days I really had no extra time or energy to give. But during those 3 months, as much as possible, I focused on that daily small commitment and kept myself from overthinking or doubting or thinking about quitting. I was like, you can overthink it later after you fulfill this 3-month commitment to yourself. So I recommend that to you as well. But just make a commitment to yourself. Tell yourself it's an experiment. You're just trying it out. It's not one of those things where if it doesn't work out, it's like a humongous failure. Like, wouldn't you have rather tried than not try at all? That whole spiel. So give yourself a kind of a commitment that you feel like is manageable, and then tell yourself, I'm only gonna overthink it and doubt it and like listen to these fears after I fulfill my commitment. But first I need to fulfill my commitment to myself. Step 2 is big picture planning. So this is really curriculum building, thinking about the overall big picture and the student journey experience. Understanding the foundation of your course is super important. What is the point of your course? What's the transformation they're going to go through? If you could imagine that ideal student, the person that's perfect for your course, where are they currently at in their life and journey? What makes them perfect for your course? And why is this course going to boggle their mind, right? Understanding your person is essential. You need to know who that person is, their struggles, their dreams, what they have tried, what they have failed at. You need to get into their shoes of where they are at now and really see it, create it from their perspective, not your own perspective, because you're kind of through the journey, right? So go back to where you were, if you used to be your target person, and create it from their perspective. So what I did was I mapped out the journey of what it will take to get from where they are now to where they want to go in detail. So for DBM Bootcamp, my course, I knew they not only needed to learn the 3 core management skills, so project, team management, and operations management, but also like light digital business strategy 101, as well as actually how to work online, do pricing, find clients, do discovery calls, onboard clients, the whole A to Z process. I mapped out what they need to succeed because I had been through that journey and I knew what I needed to truly work successfully as a digital business manager. And on top of that, I also was like, they might need some mindset help along the way, guiding them on the soft skills, encouraging them, supporting them through the rough patches. So that's how I was able to take a look at that big picture journey of the path they need to succeed before I dove into the nitty-gritty of the course creation itself. If you don't look at the big picture, it's going to be chaotic. The flow might not make sense. The structure might not make sense later on. If you're just creating and you're not really zooming out and looking at the big picture, the context of your student's experience, it's not going to make for as good or as cohesive of a process for somebody who's in there. Step 4 is to create your curriculum and actual structure itself. So what I did is I just pulled up an Airtable and I started mapping out the different modules. So modules are kind of like project management, team management, operations management. And then I started mapping out which lessons they needed and started organizing what they need to learn first and second and third, and ensuring that things that are building on each other are in the right order, essentially. So I just created kind of a loose outline. Like, again, your curriculum is not going to be solid until you finish your course, because you might need to adjust, you might notice you're missing things along the way and everything. That's totally fine. So just make sure that you're adding that in as you're working through the course, but it's really useful to start out with some sort of a curriculum structure and outline where it roughly says which lessons are kind of like the pillars of whatever transformation they're going to go under. So that's what I did in Airtable, built it all out. And then I began the first draft of creating my course content, which was wild. I bought a slide template off of creativemarket.com and I began putting words into my Google Slides. That's literally what what it was. And I began crafting the content, the slides. For me, because I was working as a freelance digital business manager full-time for the past few years, all the knowledge that I was teaching was super fresh for me, so I could just do a huge brain dump into my course content. First, it was just everything that I was doing on a daily basis and how I did it, just walking through that process. You know, the first draft is meant to be a mess. It's okay if it's a little incoherent. You will organize it and edit it later. Don't judge that first draft. It's the ugly dumpling. It's the ugly duckling, and it will get better, I promise. So just the point of this is just to get everything that's in your brain out on paper or out into Google Slides, just so you have that purge of everything already, it's down, and then you can organize it and edit it. So don't judge the first draft. It's supposed to be like that. So step 6 now is to do some research. So I wanted to be sure, this is the imposter syndrome in me, that the value I was giving was as comprehensive, as modern, as up to date, and thoughtful as possible. So along with my own experience, I did a ton of additional research as well for my course. I read a bunch of books. I did a lot of Googling. I consulted experts. I just wanted to make sure that I was filling in any gaps that I might have had in my own experience as well. And I really recommend that to you as well, is to do additional research and make sure really what you are creating is as sound and as complete as possible, if that makes sense. So I filled in a bunch of stuff from research as well, additional research, just to really make sure that the resource was, as full, that's not the right word, as robust as possible. There we go. Now, step 7 was to work on the second draft of the content after filling in more research. So begin editing, filling in gaps where you notice there are gaps. I added in additional resources, images, speaker notes for myself as well. Just when I went to record it, I would know what I meant by certain bullet points and everything. I added in additional examples and image resources if I wanted to illustrate something visually, sharing screen recordings, notes on those, really started to organize the flow of everything and just make sure it was all building on each other and make sure there weren't any unanswered questions that would pop up and that I was like defining all the key terms I was using. I also at this stage got external feedback from trusted people, and I recommend that to you as well. Don't just show it to like a bunch of people, show it to somebody who is really qualified to look it over and give you their fair opinion. So I gave my slides to a few of my mentors who have been big deal managers in a corporate setting to make sure I wasn't missing anything major or anything from my content, even though my course is more specific to digital business and entrepreneurship and small businesses. It's still relevant. Like corporate experience is super relevant regardless, and there are a lot of skills that definitely transfer over. So I was making sure that the basis of everything was really solid, and kind of plugging all those little holes in. Step 8 is to sprinkle in a little bonus magic. So crafting bonuses and additional resources, templates, cheat sheets, plug and play stuff. I created Airtable bases. I created SOP bank templates. I created calculators, email templates, lots of things where I thought this would be super useful to somebody's journey in succeeding as a digital business manager. I just made sure that all the bonuses I were creating were essential for their success. And so I created a whole bunch of those and added them into the course so that they could get started easier. And I really recommend that to you as well. It can be a great user experience to just be like, wow, this person's really thought of a lot of things. And it'll make them succeeding easier, which is really what you want as a course creator, because when they succeed, they're happy, they tell other people, and then you obviously have a good course too. Step 9, what I did was I sold my beta round. And the funny thing here is you might have noticed I had not begun recording my content at this point. I had sold my beta round because, shout out to Denise. Denise is a girl that was super insistent in my DMs on Instagram that she wanted to beta test my course. And yeah, she was like, you should run a beta round. I was like, I really don't want to run a beta round. She was like, you should do it. You should do it. I was like, okay, I'll just run a beta round for you, Denise. And I ended up posting on Instagram stories like, hey, I'm going to be beta testing my new program. If anyone's interested, just let me know. I didn't really expect anybody to be interested because I had talked about it a little, but not to the extent I should have. And that's going to be one of my lessons learned for sure. I was like, maybe it'd be cool to get like 5 beta students and have them all come together and just like give me feedback on the course. And I did a paid beta round, and I recommend that to you as well, because you want to be sure that people will actually commit to it. and people love signing up for free stuff. So you'll probably get way more committed people who are actually interested in the transformation if you do a paid beta round. I ended up actually getting, I think, 20 beta students, which was really amazing. And it really lit a fire under my butt that I had to now create this course and release one module per week to these students who had paid me money. And that was like the biggest, best thing ever, because that was like just the pressure I needed to push and like get to the finish line, because it was very exhausting towards the end to like continue to work daily on this course. So step 10 was then I began recording the actual content itself. This is the mic. This is, shout out to this mic. This is the mic that I recorded all of my course content with. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was not easy. It's just one step here, but it felt like the biggest mountain ever, because I had over 100 lessons. So I had to record 100 plus lessons. And yeah, there were some hard days there. There were some really hard days there. So if you're there, I just want to give you the biggest encouragement. Like, I promise good things are on the other side. This is a one-time upfront time investment. And in the future, you will never have to rebuild the course from scratch. You might do tweaks and updates, but you will never have to rebuild it from scratch. So please just push through, find a schedule that works for you, take care of yourself. But yeah, that was one of the hardest steps for me for sure, just because I was so exhausted at that point. Step 11 was I ran the beta round live and I got feedback and testimonials. So every week I released one module to them. They went through it. We did a Q&A call, and I got to hear directly from them like any major issues that they saw that was not clear in the course content or anything, and anything I could have been doing better. So that was super helpful. I didn't want to originally run a beta round, but I recommend it to you now. Run a beta round. It's really good for you. It's really good for them. They get early access. They get it at a discounted rate. It's just win-win, ideal. So really, really make sure you do that beta round. And step 12 was I gathered up all of those testimonials and I began setting up my evergreen webinar funnel for my online course. So I started put all that together, create my sales funnel, create my process for how I wanted people to get to know me and get to know the concept of digital business management, and get to know what it's really like to work as a DBM from my own experience, how they can get started, and if my program is a good fit for them, how they can take those steps with me if they want to. So that's essentially in just the behind the scenes, step-by-step process, the messy, chaotic process that I personally took. You can obviously adjust this however you want. This is just a look into my behind the scenes process. And I want to take a second to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video. I totally forgot we had a sponsor for this video, aka I forgot I had this product until literally 2 minutes ago when I was like on step 7. My online course kit for your purchasing pleasure comes with a full project plan if you're looking to create an online course of your own. It also comes with tons of other cool stuff like slide templates, a validation checklist. It comes with a class of exactly how I created my course and just kind of walking through that process. It talks through some of the mindset hurdles that you will have to overcome. Lots of other cool stuff. It's $37. I'll link it below if you want to create an online course with it. But yeah, thanks to the sponsor of this video, me. So let's talk about some lessons learned of creating my course. Now reflecting back, since it's almost the 2-year mark of when I first began creating, or when I first began to commit to creating my course. And now this is kind of the first year of me running full-time in my course-based business. Some lessons learned. These are not all of them, just a few. The first one is always commit to giving value and building genuine relationships before you sell anybody anything. Yeah, I don't know what to say here. Like, because I think I'm such a people pleaser, I have always tried to give people value, regardless of if they gave me money. I was always having calls with people, trying my best to help them. Obviously also protect your own boundaries a little bit. Don't just give everything away for free all the time. But I was doing my best to build those relationships before I ever even had a product to sell. And I think that's super important, because if you do that, when you do have a product, these people are going to be ready and excited to buy from you because you built trust when there was nothing on the line for you. So I really, really recommend that. Is just build those relationships. Don't be stingy about your knowledge. Share it openly. I promise the right people for your course are still going to give you money for that course, if it's validated, obviously. Which leads me to my second one. Always test and validate. We already talked about this, but I need to emphasize it again. Do not create something if you are not sure, or at least semi-sure, 50%, 50+% sure, people are interested, people are asking for it, you're the right person to be creating this, blah, 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 blah. Be sure. Check. Double check. Triple check. You can also like build a little mini version of your course, like a mini workshop or a mini course, something like that, and test that out. Test charging $20 for it. See if people are interested before you commit to creating an entire course. Next tip, build in public. As much as you can, share the process of you creating a product. Do not create in a vacuum. Do not create in secret. I kind of did this and I regret it because I could have been sharing way more of my journey of creating my course than I did. And I think it would have been really good, not just in getting feedback the entire time, but also building up hype and giving people transparency into what is going on with this program, what's included, why am I creating it, that kind of stuff. So if you can build in public, that's like my newest favorite thing is I try my best to always be building in public. I try to share on Instagram always what I'm up to and what I'm doing and how others can do similarly. I think it's a great way to be transparent as a business owner and not gatekeep what you're doing because that's just not fun for anybody. So as much as you can, build it in public so that people are aware of what you're doing and it's not just a big secret. And then one day you emerge from your cave and you're like, it's ready. And they're like, what's ready? 4, don't hold yourself back from doing what you in your gut know you should be doing. I did that for years. I did that for such a long time. And in my gut, I knew I probably should have started my own business. I had people tell me you should start your own business. I was like, I can't do it. You don't get it. Blah, 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 blah. Your mind will come up with, if you ask your mind, why can't I do this? It will come up with 1,001 reasons for why you can't do it. The brain is an amazing problem-solving tool. If you give it such a bad question, like, why do I suck? It will tell you why you suck. So give it a better question. Ask, why should I do this? And your brain will find lots of reasons why you should do it and why it is not as scary or as intimidating as you're making it out to be. So if you in your gut know you should be doing it, this is your sign. Do it. 5th, persist. That's just the tip. Persist. Especially when you want to give up, persist. It's those little decisions of, I'm going to sit down and do this even though I don't feel like it. It's those little steps, those little leaps. Those are what will create the avalanche. Right? It's those little, tiny little, all right, I'm going to sit down and work on this for 20 minutes. Those tiny little decisions that will create the avalanche that will get you to where you want to be. That will get you that huge business you want. That will get you that course that you're so proud of. That is how it happens. The overnight success, ridiculous. It's not a thing, right? So you want to take those little steps because that is what creates from what the outside looking in looks like an overnight success. It's all those little decisions you take over weeks and weeks and months that nobody sees. That is what creates that incredible avalanche that you want. 6, this is my final one. It's what I want to tell everybody all the time, is really take your time. Don't rush. Care about what you're creating and the quality and the experience for the customer. If you put the customer first, everything else will be easier. It will establish the best foundation, not just for your course, but your business moving forward. Don't rush through the process. Do your due diligence. Don't just do the bare minimum. Be sure you can over-deliver on your promise to the customer so that the experience of buying from you is exciting and fulfilling and they're not left feeling disappointed. That's going to make your life easier in the long run. Spending that more time up front creating something you're proud of will save you so much time in the long run. Those are my biggest lessons learned. If you're thinking about creating a course, let me know the topic below so I can send you all the encouragement, because I remember being there and I just needed a little bit of encouragement, being like, you should do this, go for it. So let me know. And as always, thanks so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.